Hello, BookTube. I've got a little mail for you today on a day that started out with bright, sunny spring sunshine. It was just a wonderful morning. The Bean and I went out for a nice long walk. It was very nice. We talked with the neighbors. I smooched with a couple of dogs. But slowly over the course of the day, the clouds have moved in. And there's been that kind of a damp earth feeling of imminent rain. And the Bean has gotten more and more down in the mouth. She does not like the rain. She doesn't like even the theoretical existence of rain. It saddens her. And just recently I was on a Zoom chat having a ball, and the clouds were getting thicker and thicker, and the wind was starting to get fretful, and it was pretty clear that if I didn't end the Zoom call and go outside, we were going to get caught in the rain when we went out. So I did that, and we made a quick circuit around our favorite spots, just give her time enough to do what comes natural and get a little stretch of the leg, and we were no sooner back in the door than the sky just opened up and it started pouring. And now the Bean is miserable. Not because I'm going to make her go out in the rain, I'm not, but just because it's raining somewhere in the world. That is enough to make her miserable. So we won't be going out again until it lets up. But in the meantime, I got a little mail. I think I'm probably going to get more mail today. If I do, you'll be the first to know. But in the meantime, I got a couple of magazines and a couple of packages. So I thought that's enough for a video. Good Lord, I've made videos on a whole lot less. One of the magazines is Esquire. This is the new Esquire. It's the main cover article is Justin Thoreau, who I guess is some kind of writer. I knew right away when we got to the profile that it was going to be mostly about smoking, and it is. Although the magazine has lots of other stuff in it too. This is basically the Bible of conspicuous consumption, but it has lots of advertisements as well that are always interesting. One in particular for the Milwaukee Boot Company is a full-page color advertisement that is pretty much a perfect illustration of what I say when I say that facial hair on a young man looks absolutely ridiculous. Now, that was an opinion that's not original to me. That opinion started out with Alexander the Great, who had it for other reasons, for tactical reasons, but it's still true. If you are a young man, your facial hair is always going to look just about as dumb as that, which is like putting a toupee on a baby. It's just about as stupid as that. But if that lets us down, we always have the world of high fashion, right? We have wonderful outfits all throughout here that just really are to die for, especially if we're talking financially. Like, for instance, this t-shirt, "Don't Ruin My Fantasy." It's written with permanent magic marker on an ordinary white t-shirt made by slaves in China. Any guesses? Look at that t-shirt. That's the t-shirt. Not anything else to it. It's just a white t-shirt that someone wrote that on. "Don't ruin my fantasy." Any guesses what that's going to set you back at the boutique on Santa Monica Boulevard? $20? $100? $200? For a t-shirt that's made by slaves and then written with a ballpoint pen by some jerk in a warehouse? $200? No. No. $2,975. $2,975. That's what that t-shirt costs. Can't be washed. If you wash it even once, it will not only shrink to the size of a napkin, but you'll lose all the writing. You can only wear it once. It costs $2,975. Don't ruin my fantasy. So we already have that. $2,975 for a t-shirt you can only wear once. But when I look at a magazine like Esquire, one of these lad mags, I always look for the literary component. There's always going to be a literary component. The little occasional pieces in here will sometimes be interesting. There's one in here, I forget who writes it. There's one in here at the very beginning. Okay, it's written by someone named Garrett Muntz, M-U-N-C-E. And it's just a quick little thing. It's just 500 words, 300 words even, about baths, about how much fun it is to take a bath. Not very utilitarian. A shower is faster and more efficient. But a bath is a wonderful experience. I couldn't help but agree. I've read a million essays on what it's like to take a bath. I wish that I had a really nice bathtub. I really do. I really wish I had that. I right now have one of these ordinary things, just these ordinary stupid concessions, where there's a kind of bathtub. You couldn't use it to take a bath, but you could bathe a child in it. And I think that's the draw. When people are making places like this, they think, well, it's going to be a young family who's going to take this, and they're going to have children, so you're going to want something like a bathtub. You're not going to want to not have one. But it's clearly a shower stall. It's meant to be, you can maybe bathe children, but you can't take a bath in it yourself. I much prefer a setup like, for instance, the old farmhouse, Mark Richardson's old farmhouse in Vermont. Not the incredibly old house that he lives in now, but the incredibly old house he used to live in. Dispensed with that. It just dispensed with that. The people who were rehabbing it once upon a time obviously said, well, since we're not going to put in a tub here, we're not going to put in any kind of tub. So it was just a big, generous shower stall that you could just open the door and walk in. The bathroom here is perfectly set up for such a thing. Perfectly. Instead of a narrow little corner that's trying to do two things poorly, if it were just a stall for a shower, it would be perfect. But it isn't. So I right now don't have. Once upon a time, I have in the course of my life had access many times to big, generous metal tubs, and I grew up with a big, generous metal tub, the type with lion claw feet on it. And the experience of taking a regular bath every day in one of those things is incredible. It's incredible. The essay here is right. It's incredibly calming. It's incredibly soothing. It isn't meant to blast away all the dirt and grime of a workout in 5 minutes before you go to a job interview. It's meant instead as a meditative exercise, and it makes you feel really good. So it may be a little nostalgic, and I can't indulge in my nostalgia because I don't have a bathtub, and I don't think I'm ever going to have one again. I can't indulge in it literally, so what I will do in response to that essay is go through and find some more bathtub essays. Rose Macaulay, if I remember correctly, wrote one that I really liked. I think it was her, but I'll give it. I'll look around and see what I have in my various essay collections for tub bathing. But the reason that I get these things is because they're always going to have something literary in them. And it's, a story or an expose or a profile of an author or something like that. And this issue does. It's just not what I wanted at all. The literary piece that's in here is given over to an adapted excerpt from Blake Bailey's biography of Philip Roth. And adapted essays don't do me much good. I've already read the book with very great attention twice. I read the advanced copy and the finished copy, so I don't need to read an excerpt from it here. I would much rather have, for Esquire to have, instead of paying that money to Blake Bailey to run an excerpt of his book, I would much rather that they had paid a reviewer to write a 6,000-word review of Philip Roth and his works and that book. How much better would that have been? Now that I think about it, though, they probably didn't pay him. They probably took a check from Bailey's publisher. They probably got paid to run an excerpt of it. It's publicity, after all. One way or another, that was the literary content of Esquire, so it wasn't quite as appealing. But Harper's is a different story. I got the latest Harper's, and it has book coverage in the back. It has an actual quote-unquote back of the book section where you've got all of the essays at the front on one thing or another. The standout essay in this issue is the weird killing spree that Donald Trump went on right at the end of his presidential administration, where he pushed to fast track and make sure that happened. He did everything except go there and gloat with popcorn. He pushed to accelerate, I think 12 or 13 death row cases to make sure that the people, the black men involved, died before he left office and couldn't do it anymore. I think when the word is written on the Trump administration, a lot of attention is going to be paid to that, to the final moments. The final months of the Trump campaign really took the disguises off the whole thing. Of course, with an armed insurrection to overthrow the Capitol and install Donald Trump as the dictator that he has always obviously wanted to be. Of course that, but also lots of other things, including this, which barely got any notice in the mainstream press, this where Trump was, the directives obviously came from him personally to get this done. Kill as many of these people as we can while we're still in control of the Justice Department. Get as many of these people, these black men, dead as possible. When the news first broke months and months ago, I tweeted about it and said that this has always been Donald Trump's dream. Whether he was writing about executing the Central Park Five even after DNA evidence proved they were innocent, still execute them anyway. All of his life he has wanted to have the power to make the state execute black people. That's always been a dream of his. And when he was president, he had that power. And the only reason that we didn't see numbers like this every month for the whole of his presidency is because he actually believed he would never not be president. And I'm not just talking about a second administration, I'm talking about forever. I think he firmly believed that he would be president forever. I think the mind frame that associated itself with Trumpism was millenarian. It was, there is no future after us. So we don't have to worry about accountability at all. We don't have to worry about even history's verdict on us, because it's not just events, it's that history stops with us. Everything stops with us. We are living in a world without consequences. And when it started to dawn on Donald Trump that that wasn't true, and that there's a good chance that although the Republicans would do well in the 2020 election, he would be voted out of office because he's massively unpopular. People hate him. When it started to dawn on him, then something unholy started to happen. And one of the worst iterations of that was this push by his Justice Department to kill people before the clock runs out, before we can't do it anymore. It's not like the men on death row that he pushed to have executed were any more guilty in those last months than they'd been for the 15 years before. Nope. It was just bloodlust. And the article on that in here was really good. It's not the final word on the subject, but I'd love to see the author. Who's the author of that article? I should tell you that, shouldn't I? If I'm talking all about it. I'm hoping that the author writes a book on the subject. I'm hoping that this is a draft of a book. It's by Carolyn Lester. And the article is called The Lightning Farm. Very, very good stuff. But there's also the back of the book. If you want to just get away from politics of any kind, there's the back of the book. Like, for instance, Harper's has Claire Massoud, the novelist Claire Massoud, does their new book section, which was, they've tapped a number of people over the years to do it. There was a while where some mook named Andrew Martin was doing it. And the problem with a regular new books column is that the columnist could get bored, or could get if they're just one person, they might not have read the big new releases and might go for just whatever interests them, which means that over time, a new release column like this might get less and less interesting to the general reader. That's just a risk you run. I don't think it should be quite as high a risk with a monthly magazine. When you have a weekly column, like if you've got somebody writing weekly for the New York Times, or what's his name again? Some mook named Sam Sachs writing the fiction chronicle for the Wall Street Journal. In a job like that, he's got to write about 3 novels every week. They can't all be major releases, especially since the Journal is also contracting out reviews from other people of major new releases in fiction. So he's got to go searching in the weeds for some things. But a monthly column, I've seen it happen many times. I've watched many people come and go from the new books column in the Harper's, and it always gets more obscure, and I always resist that. I don't think that ought to be true. But you can't tell someone what to read. But then there's also The Saddest Words, William Faulkner's Civil War by Michael Gora. It's a book that I read and kind of sort of liked. I liked Michael Gora as a writer, but I think I was really hampered by the fact that it's just not his best efforts. Most people's best efforts just cannot warm me up to Faulkner. They just can't do it. And I think I was probably hurt in appreciating his book by that fact. But this is a review of that book by Benjamin Nugent, who is the author of Fraternity, a collection of stories that we saw on this channel. At least it's not that Andrew Martin person. Instead, it's this year's clone of that Andrew Martin person. And then there's also Gemma Seif, S-I-E-F-F, who lives in Iowa City. I wonder what she does in Iowa City. I wonder what she does. Does she work at the Prairie Lights bookstore? I bet not. I bet she teaches or works at the Iowa Writers Workshop in Iowa City. I bet that's what she does. But one way or another, she lives in Iowa City. We don't know anything else about her. But she reviews 2 new novels that are about the internet. No One Is Talking About This by Patricia Lockwood, and Fake Accounts by Lauren Euler. And I have actually read both of those books, and I thought that the little exposition dumps here and there about what the viral internet is like were interesting, but as novels, they don't work as novels at all, either one of them. But this is a long piece on that. I haven't read it yet, but I'm sure it'll be interesting. I'm sure it'll be more interesting than the books were. And that was Harper's. I looked through it to see what the books coverage was. I read the major articles in the front, and I also looked for blurbs, book blurbs by yours truly. There were none, but they will come. My dream now, of course, I live for blurbs. I'm certainly not in book reviewing for the money. I live for that. But my dream now is for Big Canoe News in Northern Georgia. It's a tiny, once-a-month, full-color newspaper. The May issue is trundling towards reality now. It's slouching towards a printing press as we speak. Very soon, in 2 weeks, less than that, probably, the new May issue will be up on the website for Big Canoe, which I will list down below. They don't paywall anything, so you can read the May issue in digital format to your heart's content. And there is a book section. A nice, generous, full-color, 2-page book section that is mine. I am their new books editor. And a little bit after that digital issue goes up, the print issue will be available. A nice, big, folded newspaper, $30 a year, is the subscription that gets you Big Canoe News delivered to your doorstep anywhere once a month. That's a lot of books coverage. Trust me, that's a lot of books that we're going to be covering. My dream now is to see Big Canoe blurbed on some major paperback in 2022. Big Canoe's very first blurb on a book. Oh my, that would be nice. We'll see. We'll see. I want the quality of the reviews to speak for themselves, and if that happens, sooner or later, some publisher who's putting together a paperback is going to notice that. I have to hope. I have to hope that that is the case. In the meantime, I will content myself with running the best book reviews that I can find. I strongly recommend the book section of Big Canoe News. Strongly recommend it. You can do it free on the website, or you can subscribe. Subscribing would be nice. Little newspapers need their subscription numbers. And of course, if you're subscribing to Big Canoe News solely for the books coverage, feel free to let them know that. It'll always help your friendly local editor if you let them know that. But one way or another, my May section is filed. My May section is done. And it's a whopper of stuff. Lots of great stuff. I wrote a column for it, and there are a bunch of reviews of new releases, of stuff that you're going to see in your bookstores. So none of this, of the thing that I talked about with Claire Massoud, where you've got this column and you just eventually your choices get more and more idiosyncratic so that a reader is not likely to see it in a bookstore. No. For Big Canoes, there will be reviews like that, things that struck my reviewers as things they really wanted to write about. But in every issue, there will also be talk of new releases, of things you're going to go to your bookstore, hopefully with more freedom than ever now that more and more of us are vaccinated. More bookstores, I'm hoping, are going to open again. If we're all cautious, if we wear our masks, if we wash our hands, don't touch your mouth, if we are all cautious and most of us are vaccinated, I think we can go back to the things we love. I think we can go back to browsing in libraries, to browsing in bookstores. I'm hoping for that. And a goal with Big Canoe News is that some of what you see in that bookstore will be reflected in those reviews. No idiosyncratic choices, or very few. Anchors. Every issue will be anchored by something big. Like, for instance, there's a big nonfiction new release. I'm told by my editors at Big Canoe that my readership likes nonfiction. So it's a match made in heaven. But one of the big nonfiction releases for May is my signature big review. And that's going to stay true. So I strongly encourage you, if you have the $30 to spare, you get lots of good news. Not just tractor sales. The rest of the newspaper is not just tractor sales. There is a news section. There are lots of engaging local interest stuff. There's an opinion section. It's just that in addition to all that, if you dig around in the back of the news section, they don't put books in arts and entertainment, they put books in news. Isn't that awesome? If you dig around in the news section, you will see a wonderful, full-color, 2-page spread book section held by yours truly. First time in a generation. But then we have books as well. Now that I'm done with my plug, I'm as proud as could be of the book section at Big Canoe News in Northern Georgia. So you're going to have to put up with a plug now. At least I'm not selling you merch. But I strongly recommend that book section. I am confident. I am going to work hard, and I am confident that in a few months, once word has spread, people are going to start to know that this is a little local newspaper book section that they cannot miss. that they're going to want to read the reviews of these major new releases that appear in this local northern newspaper, this Northern Georgia newspaper. I'm confident that word will spread. Anyway, let's look at the books rather than go on about Northern Georgia. So we got this first one. The first one is a finished copy. It's heavy. It's big. So let's see what we have here. Oh my, fantastic. Okay, I don't know if this is going to tell me the important thing. Okay, it's not. All right, so this pub sheet came out before the important change in this. I've already praised this to you. I want to praise it to you again. Oh Lord, talk about a plug. I cannot praise this book highly enough. It is going to be $28, so $30, not $30. I keep asking you for $30. But this isn't for me. This is for you. It is going to blow you away. This is a graphic novel. And you might think, well, I don't really read graphic novels, but this isn't a superhero graphic novel. It just happens to be a novel told in pictures. And the reason why it's told in pictures is because it is written by a cartoonist who currently works for the New Yorker. This is in a graphic novel by Will McPhail. And thanks to the fact that I have a pub sheet now, I can show you what the author looks like. That's what the author looks like. And I'm sure that his biography is going to tell me that he writes, that he's an artist for the New Yorker since 2014. He lives in Edinburgh, and this is, I believe, his first novel. And it's incredible. Absolutely incredible. That's what it looks like. That is our main character, who is also an illustrator, very much a stand-in for Will McPhail, who is looking, he's in this big, featureless world, but he's looking through it to something that looks real, colorful, inviting. Something that so let's see. Oh, yes, all right, this does have color. So we have black and white. Some of you will know his style. These bug eyes are a stylistic feature of him. He's in every issue of the New Yorker, so some of you will know that style. And the whole thing is in black and white, except for the full color paintings. Look at that. Oh man. The publicist for this book told me that the color really adds to it. And of course, my advanced copy didn't have any color. Oh man, incredible. You've got this page, then you turn the page into the child's imagination, and it's all color. Oh man! All right, well that means I'm going to read this again. It's going to be like encountering it for anew. But this is a novel about a young man who his mother is working to fix up a brownstone that they own, and he feels completely disconnected from the world. Goes to a series of charismatic local bars, tries on charismatic local music in an attempt to feel something. In an attempt to get away from just a total anomie that grips the rest of his world. He wants to find a door. He wants to be let in on real life, on the real life that he has been promised is out there. And not only that, but as the book progresses, he also wants to let someone else in. To not be so fundamentally alone, so he's not a bitter loner in the sense of old stereotype books. Instead, he's very much living in a world that I think a lot of you, especially those of you who are under 30, actually know much better than I do. I don't think that Will McPhail is making up a whole lot about this part of the world, this featureless part, where I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know what I'm supposed to care about. I don't know how to meet people. I don't know how to like people or love someone. I feel like there's an essential instruction manual that I haven't been given, and that has locked me out of the real world. I have a feeling that a lot of you, especially under the age of 30, are going to know that world a lot better than I do. I think it's as much as this thing moved me. Oh my God. The main plot is a love story, but the secondary plot is a hammer blow to the gut. Especially if you're a little older, because you'll have gone through something like it. But the main plot, the atmosphere of the main plot takes place in that world of detachment, of just a kind of non-aggressive cluelessness. I don't really know what life is supposed to be. I admit, I came to that as a bit of a stranger. My generation did not experience that. I don't know anything about that. According to UNESCO's last estimates, I have 21 billion best friends on this planet, so I don't feel disconnected in a field of nothing. I am always a foot away or a minute away from someone who wants nothing more than to lay on top of me and smooch my face until we both fall asleep. So I don't have this disconnect. I know what I like to do, I know what I'm good at, and I know that I'm loved. But a lot of you do, and this is going to talk right to you. Oh my God. in a much better way, I think, than the other famous graphic novel that's about that kind of disconnection, which is Blankets. It's a much bigger thing. This is much shorter than Blankets, but that also is about a kind of anomie, a kind of disconnect. I think this hits the nail much better, and the artwork's better. So, needless to say, if you liked Blankets, you have to read this thing, but I think everyone does. Oh my God, so happy to get a finished copy of this. Fantastic. The only thing is the pub sheet says 18th of May is the date for this, and that's not true. This is moved to June. I don't have the exact date, but if I remember, I will learn it and put it in the show notes, because I want you to know when this is available. But I know it doesn't come out until June. But when it does, oh my, I cannot recommend it enough. So that's great. That is a great way to start. And now we'll move on to the second one. It's got to be all downhill from here, unless it's a 500-page biography of Erasmus. It's got to be downhill from the finished copy of In. But In is so good. Anyway, let's see what we have here. Okay, I don't know this at all. This is what are we going to have here? All right, this is going to be a finished. The finished copy is coming out in late July. This is going to be $27, and this is Summer Fun by Jean Thornton. Why do I think it's going to be ironic? I don't think it's going to be about summer fun. Probably going to be about being miserable. Let's see here. Lambda Award-nominated author Jean Thornton reinvents the epistolary novel with Summer Fun, an epic, singular look at fandom, creative genius, longing, and trans identity. And it has a blurb by Tori Peters, who the author of Detransition Baby. So this is going to be the season's other trans book from a major publisher. This is Soho Press. So what have we got here? With this letter, a sorcery has come upon you. So this is a novel told in letters, an epistolary novel. That's an old-fashioned gambit. Gala, a young trans woman, works at a hostel in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. All right, okay, that's great. But I want to call an official moratorium on ironically significant place names. Okay? We've seen Purgatory and Paradise so far, and now we have Truth or Consequences. Let's stop that. I'm not saying that it's going to affect the quality of this book, but I want to declare a moratorium on ironically important place names. Okay? No more Paradise, Nevada. No more Purgatory, New Mexico. No more Truth or Consequences. No more Retribution. No more nothing like that. No more nothing like that. Just call the place a place and get on with your story. Anyway, this is an egregious example. This is Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. So what's the name of a citizen from that city? Are you a Truthian? Are you a Consequentian? Ridiculous. I'm not saying the rest of the book is, but let's get rid of that gimmick. It has played itself out. No more Paradise, no more Retribution, no more Isolation, no more nothing like that. Just call your place Sudros Wells and get on with your story. Okay. When she is not maintaining the hostel's hot springs or abiding unexpected visits from her friend Rhonda, she writes letters to B, reclusive genius of the Get Happies, the quintessential Beach Boys-esque 1960s California band she is obsessed with. So she's writing to one of the members of that band, writing letters that are stamped by the post office, Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. Anyway, the rest of it sounds great. Why did the band stop making music? What happened to B? Gala doesn't only write letters. She enacts rituals. She lights candles and listens to Get Happy's albums in her trailer and perfects the altar she made to the from a Doc Martin box and thrifted G.I. Joes. These rituals have a singular purpose: make the Get Happies unite for a world tour and will them to finally release Summer Fun, the studio album they left unfinished. She's invented a voodoo altar to make them do that. That's hilarious. I wonder how that's going to come out, though. That's not the kind of thing you would admit in a letter. Oh, that's hilarious, though. One day, Gala's summoning seems to work. You knew that was coming. Though not how she expects. Caroline, a young cis woman armed with a video camera, appears while on a quest to find her grandmother. She may be related to the long-lost Bee. While pursuing this unique opportunity to solve the mystery, Gala continues to conjure Bee in letters. From the childhood stirrings of musical genius to the height of celebrity and back down again, navigating the crisis that silenced Bee decades ago. So we're going to learn Bee's story through these letters. In Thornton's hands, the journey of an American legend is no less accurate or poignant for being invented. don't know if you can hear the rain. The rain is pounding down outside. That's why the bean is miserable. It's just totally deflated. But Summer Fun is not only a scaling of a tall tale. Alongside this extraordinary, enthralling portrait of Bee is the portrait of Gala herself. Their parallel narratives form a dialogue about creation, of music, identity, self, commercialization, culture, and counterculture that rings as true now as it did in the 1960s. I'm kind of on board. This, I gotta admit, I kind of am. With this letter, a sorcery has come upon you. Meant for Bee, Gala's invocation applies to the reader too. Thornton's novel is a spell wrought with words, filled with mystery, magic, and at one point a flying car. Summer Fun is a can't-miss work of trans literature that marks Thornton as one of the most exciting and original novelists working today. Okay, that sounds great, and the book sounds great. I don't see how this is trans literature. What is trans literature? I don't even know. I've said on this channel many times, I'm not sure what gay literature is anymore. It's legal to marry. Gays can legally marry in every state in the Union. So what is gay fiction anymore? I'm not 100% sure it is, unless it's meant in the sense that I think this is meant. I think the Soho publicist who wrote this probably thinks what they're talking about here is that this is trans fiction because the main character is trans. That I could sort of understand, and that would also be true for gay fiction or lesbian fiction. Would be maybe that's what it is now. Maybe we just have to make it as simple as that. That this is a trans novel because the main character is trans. That'd be interesting in a way. Okay, so who is Jean Thornton? The author of the novel The Dream of Dr. Bantam and a collection called The Black Emerald, both of which were shortlisted for the Lambda Literary Award. There's no small thing to get one shortlist, much less two. I don't think I've read either one of those books. And now I feel kind of bad about that. She is also the co-publisher of the independent press Instar Books and the writer and illustrator of the webcomics Bad Mother and The Man Who Hates Fun. She's a 2015 Lambda Literary Fellow in fiction and was published in Wired, N+1, and the Evergreen Review. Okay, so this is not her first book. So that's fantastic. Okay, I really like the sound of this, so what was the date on this? Do I get to dig in this right away? No, I don't. No, this is late July. So I might get a finished copy of this, or maybe not, but I'm not going to be getting to this until July. So that's a long way off. But if it interests you, like for instance, if you yourself are trans, or if you're not trans but you're feeling like you haven't read many books that take place from that viewpoint or that feature a trans character, now I've got another one. In addition to Detransition Baby, you've now got another one to put on your list. And I gotta admit, this sounds like a lot more fun than Detransition Baby. There's no rule that says that trans fiction can't be fun, right? This sounds a lot more interesting. We shall see. I will report back this summer, at the height of summer. The height of summer, oh my. When it's 100 degrees Fahrenheit, oh my. I've never experienced 100-degree Fahrenheit weather while living in Mark Richardson's house. But I may very well. Because I'm not sure when the Bean and I visit the next time we finally are free to visit, I'm not sure that we're ever going to leave. Our video locations may be very different this summer. Unless the Richardson family wises up and maybe relocates one way or another. So that is our fiction haul for today. It's two fiction. One I haven't read and one I have, both off the beaten path. So we have Summer Fun, in which a young woman tries to will her favorite band back on tour. That's hilarious. That right there is funny. We'll see whether or not it has an emotional gut punch. I won't find out for a few months. And then we have In by Will McPhail, which was originally scheduled for late May. It's now coming out in June sometime, but that's not a big difference. I'm going to say the same thing about this thing that I said when I showed you the advanced copy. Pre-order it. I don't often say that on this channel. You know that. I don't often do that, but pre-order it. It's going to blow you away. I feel certain of that. If not, you can complain to me, but I feel certain that it will. So anyway, we've got those two books, and then our periodicals, Harper's and Esquire. And who knows what else might be coming today. With the rain slapping down like this, it could be that my book delivery trucks just sort of give it a miss. And I'm okay with that. I know these drivers. I've known them for years, so I've told them many, many times when they stop me on the street when I'm walking Frida to hand me a package so they don't have to make a trip back to the house. I've told them many times that if it's pouring rain and you just want to get home, you can skip this building. I'm the only one here. You don't need to make a special trip for me. It can wait. It's just boards. We'll see. One thing's for sure, though, when I wrap up this video, I will be writing. I will not be taking the bean for a walk. She wouldn't go outside the door when it's like this. I know from long experience, I could take her down, I could take her to the back step, open the door. The minute she sees water coming down from the sky, she's just going to stand there. Maybe look up at me. So I've got a battle of wills in front of me for the rest of the day. I'm just going to let her pout and do a little bit of writing. Just do a little bit of writing about Stalin. It's the perfect weather for writing about Stalin. But I'm going to wrap this up. If I get more mail, I'll make another video. But in the meantime, I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.